All right, we're just going to start with a brief introduction. I see that there are a couple of messages on there are already messages in our chat box, so I'm just going to go over it. If you can see this is me saying welcome. Thank you so much for joining this session. Please, if you can hear me, just type in the chat box that you can, so that we know that we are in this together. Okay. My name is still Faith. Please just drop your name. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abdul. Faith from Aiivon, you're welcome. Hello. Okay, Bashira Hassan says she can't hear anything. Please, is there any other person having the same challenge? If you can't hear anything, please do call my attention to it. Hi, good day. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, I'm so sorry. You can go ahead and unmute. You can just unmute yourself for a few minutes and a few seconds and just tell us your name. I'm so sorry if I didn't get that correctly.
Okay, my name is Godivume. I hope you heard me well.
Okay, yes, I heard you, Godivume. I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Please go ahead and just drop your name in the chat box. Let's get to meet you. It's supposed to be an interactive session, right? So it's not just one person doing all of the talking. We are all innovators. Most of us, rather, so I don't assume, we are all innovators. We are tech enthusiasts. So we should not behave like we do not know. Okay, so sorry, I think I missed a message from Yakubu Musa, who was asking when the meeting was going to start. I apologize. So before I went, I muted. I'd introduced myself and said that some of our community members were having challenges with joining in. So just give them a couple more minutes for them to join. So sorry, we didn't start at exact 2 p.m. We've started now. And said, I am Yakubu Musa, working with ONDI of NICDA. I have with me on the call my colleagues, Barrister Bashira Hassan, Barrister Abdul. All right, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I think I was on the call with Bashira. Right, okay, thank you so much for joining in. Let me just take one or two more introductions and we would go right to the next item on our agenda. Okay, someone said he's Irene Akatsuba. I'm so sorry if I don't pronounce that correctly. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and just tell us your name briefly. I'm so sorry, Irene, if I did not pronounce your name correctly. Okay, so we have Yakubu Musa. Thank you so much for joining in. Okay, so Adam said he's joining us from Mina in Niger State. Thank you so much for joining. We have Faith Asukwa. Thank you so much for joining. It is great to have you on this call. Barrister Irene is also a colleague working with ONDI of NICDA. Right, thank you. It's great to have you on this call. So we're just going to move right into it. So if you're just joining us, you can go ahead and drop your name in the chat box and tell us where you are joining us from. So we are starting right so my name is Faith again. I see that a couple of people have joined. My name is Faith Ono, and I'm the community and programs manager here at Aiivon Innovation Hub. And yes, a couple of you would be asking who is Aiivon, what is Aiivon, what do you guys do? I have a few of our community members on this call that already know who we are and then what we do. But for the benefit of those who have not heard about us or have not had any first interaction with us. So we are Aiivon Innovation Hub, and we're an enterprise support structure organization basically for the digital economy, and we provide startups, business owners, SMEs, entrepreneurs. We give them access to training opportunities, funding opportunities, both in terms of grants, in terms of loans, investment opportunities. One of the other ways that we support startups within the ecosystem is through the use of our physical and the virtual workspaces. So you may want to check out our space whenever you're in Abuja. We are both in Abuja and Makurdi. Right, yes. All right, then. So, okay, I think I already told you about our hub, right? So, like I said, we provide support for startups. So, a lot of people, a lot of business owners want the comfort of working from somewhere very, very close to the central business district in Abuja, but may not be able to afford the high cost of renting an office space or even buying a property. So we take out that burden from you, give you access to our co-working spaces and private offices at very, very amazing prices that would not warrant you to break the bank. And like I said, you can check us out whenever you can. Yes, so moving on, please, if at any point you cannot hear me, you have any question, please just use the chat box. I will definitely go through it and then try my best to attend to you. So we still have Joshua from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining in. Love said she loves Abuja and she's so excited. Thank you so much. We all love our FCT, our Federal Capital Territory, and it is great to have you on this call. So we're just going to jump right into the business of the day. So yes, we have introduced ourselves. I have lots of amazing people from around Nigeria that have joined on this session. Thank you all so much for being part of the session. We really appreciate you. Okay, so moving right into the business of the day, the tech law awareness. So one of the reasons we decided to put this webinar together is to enlighten startups, especially tech startups, to enlighten even the tech talents. So we hear lots of people, lots of developers or startup owners, fintech startup owners as well. You do not really know that there are certain policies, there are certain laws, there are certain things within your startup that you really do not know, and either for ignorance or whatever the case may be, you really you would dare fall into this, oh, I did not know category, and then you are faced with some litigations and you really don't even understand why. So that is the reason we decided to put this together. And also the Nigerian Startup Act, not just I, as an organization, we put out a mini poll online to just understand, to hear from community members if they are even aware of the Nigerian Startup Act. So it's so funny that not so many people, even in the tech space, are aware of this act. Nobody even knows the implementing organization. Nobody knows exactly, or most people, I wouldn't use the word nobody, pardon me, please. Most people do not even know who they are reaching out to for what exactly does the NSA entails, right? So we decided that we use this opportunity to bring this information to your doorstep, help you know how you can utilize this information for your tech startup benefits, and also provide you with support where need be. All right, so our first speaker is Mr. Mujib Dada Kudri. I usually avoid this other part because I feel like, okay, I know Mr. Mujib Dada. Can we just stick with that? All right, so yes, he's going to be our first speaker for today. And just a brief biography about him. After being called to the Nigerian bar in 2019, which qualified him as a licensed Nigerian attorney, he decided to deepen his relationship between law and tech. Please, if at any point you can't hear me, please just use the chat box. The network is a bit unstable. All right, so just let me continue with Mr. Mujib's biography. Okay, so after being called to the Nigerian bar in 2019, qualifying him as a licensed Nigerian attorney, he decided to deepen the relationship between law and tech, especially as the digital innovation sector grows robustly in Nigeria and Africa. In 2020, he commenced a webinar called the Law and the App. I think that's what it is. I'm so sorry about that typo. That hosted tech entrepreneurs, developers, and stakeholders. The webinar focused on basic law knowledge for tech stakeholders, such as the importance of agreements in tech services, data privacy regulations, intellectual property protection for software developers, legal challenges of ride-hailing companies in Nigeria, basic legal compliance in starting tech businesses in Nigeria, etc. In 2022, 2022 also witnessed the second version of the webinar tagged The Law and the App 2.0. More attendees were hosted and legal issues affecting the tech sector in Nigeria were discussed. Issues such as how to craft terms and conditions for websites and apps, the importance of vesting agreements for tech partners, latest Nigerian regulations on data privacy, important and relevant tech agencies in Nigeria, the importance of shareholders agreements, trademark and patency for softwares, stroke codes, then cryptocurrency and Nigerian law, crowdfunding for tech and innovations. Over 350 online attenders were hosted in the 2-year webinar, which also accommodated questions and answers from tech stakeholders. So everyone, please make welcome Mr. Mujib Dada. Please, at this point, if we're in physical space, we would have said clapping 1 or 2, but welcome, Mr. Mujib. If you can hear me, so you have the floor now. You can go ahead with your session.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to be here. I will appreciate it if people can notify if they can hear me loud and clear. Maybe by just notifying in the chat box if I can be heard loud and clear. I will really be grateful. My name is Mujib Dada Quadri. She was finally the Quadri had to mention. That's my name. Like she be rightly introduced, I'm a lawyer, largely into corporate law, and exclusively interested in tech law aspect, which is a branch of corporate law. And I would like to introduce my presentation by relating a story, a very brief story that happened about an event that happened a few years ago. I actually met a friend, an old school friend, which I saw, I think, over 10 years ago in an event. So an event reconnected us. And we were chatting, we were teasing each other, you know, trying to recollect the past and laugh at the past. And he was like, what do I do? And I said, I'm a lawyer. I said, what do you do? He told me his profession. I said, oh, that's nice. And he was like, now I can make troubles. You're a lawyer. Now I can make troubles. You know, that statement is what I get mostly when I meet new people. When I tell friends, old friends, that I'm a lawyer, people feel you need a lawyer mostly when you're in trouble. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that you need lawyers more when you are either building prosperity or you're in prosperity. And establishing tech startup or establishing startups is one of the steps to building prosperity. That prosperity is not far from us. It's obvious in the latest data about Nigerian tech startups. Not even tech startups. The tech ecosystem in Nigeria, as far as Africa is concerned, is the most ambitious. 2 years ago, the ecosystem attracted over $3 billion. One of the highest in Africa. Arguably the highest in Africa. $3 billion. Names like Flutterwave, Andela, and different brands attracted this investment, irrespective of the challenges Nigeria is battling economically. So it seems like a wonderland that a country with this level of different levels of challenges can attract this kind of investment, tech investment. So it shows something. It shows that sector is not just ambitious. It's a sector full of hidden prosperity and potentials. There's also a sector that we don't like talking about, which is a branch of the tech startup world, which is a branch of the tech ecosystem. And that's a digital freelancing sector. It's a sector that we're yet to even value in Nigeria. We don't even know the worth of that sector yet. Nigerians are sitting in their corners in Ibadan, corners in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Mina, doing jobs, digital jobs for brands in Sweden, brands in Norway. That sector is yet to be valued in Nigeria. But generally, the digital freelancing sector is worth over $4 trillion. The worth of that sector in Nigeria, I mean, digital freelancing now specifically, is not known. But it's a thriving sector too. Now we're competing with the Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. Before, it was just the digital freelancing world was exclusive to the Indians, Pakistanis. Now, Nigerians are doing better. But we're not, what the tech stakeholders, what they don't understand is that when you have a growing sector like this, a growing tech ecosystem like this, there is need for what they call corporate organization, corporate structure in other sector, so that the opportunities, the wealth of that sector will not be milked away by different agents. Let me use that word. The music industry, for example, in Nigeria, despite we think it's rich, the music industry is multi-million-dollar industry now. That's what we say. But that sector is being milked. The beneficiaries are not maximizing the juice of that sector because the corporate structuring is not enough. In fact, the little they are enjoying the Nigerian music industry, for example, is because some lawyers and some smart entrepreneurs have been able to give a bit of structure. Now, it is important for the tech ecosystem in Nigeria, especially the emerging tech ecosystem. It's very important for them to also prepare for having sufficient corporate structuring for that sector. And you can't have a corporate structuring for that sector without having sufficient legal advice. And that's why I'm here. I would like to briefly give you specific tech services that I believe are in need of legal services. I think I've submitted my presentation to the host. I think that will be presented, it's shared. But specifically, these sectors I'm about to mention are in need of legal services in Nigeria now. Globally, they have already tapped into legal services, but in Nigeria, we have to understand, we have to prepare for it. For example, programming. I will establish reasons why these sectors, these services need lawyers, need specifically tech-oriented lawyers. And I will give you, let me just give the examples of the sectors: the programming sector, the website development, software development, artificial intelligence, copywriting and freelancing, digital marketing and media influencing, blogging, hardware technologies, or robotics. I also like to mention blockchain technologies / cryptocurrency, etc., etc. Now, these are the sectors, smart emerging sectors globally. And they're not just emerging sectors globally, they're also emerging in Nigeria. For example, I didn't mention data analysis. Yes, the sector of data analysis is fast emerging in Nigeria also. So I've mentioned like 10 sectors: programming, website development, software development, artificial intelligence, machine learning, copywriting, digital marketing and media influencing, blogging, hardware technologies, robotics, etc. Now, I will analyze practically how these sectors are in need of legal services. I will analyze why these services are in need of legal advice. The first important legal service you need as a tech stakeholder is contract drafting and contract negotiation. That's the first thing. You see, you will make money, you are making money, but the foundation of making money is negotiation. You are entering into a contract with maybe a foreign partner, a foreign client, but you don't understand what the Nigerian law says about the service you are rendering. And the client you are dealing with is bringing the terms of the American legal system or bringing the terms of the European legal system. Another angle to this contract drafting is that there are some terms that we used, to hide benefits for you as a tech developer or a tech stakeholder. It is only a lawyer, a tech-oriented lawyer, a lawyer that is smart, that will unravel, that will unveil that hidden benefits. And like you can imagine I'm mentioning, citing music industry as an example, because music industry in Nigeria, or let me say entertainment industry in Nigeria, is the most peculiar to this narrative, because it is also, there's a time it was emerging, like the tech startup ecosystem is also emerging now. So there were days, there were years, there were moments artists were being swindled, were being cheated by record labels, by brands, because they don't understand, they can't appreciate the importance of contract drafting or contract negotiation. And in fact, it's still affecting them up till now. There are digital music platforms, digital music products now, streaming products that are streaming Nigerian-owned songs internationally. And the owners are late. No agreement, nothing. And they are making its content for these digital brands because no contract with them. There is no corporate structure to protect the intellectual property and all the rest. That's one. Now, the second one is intellectual property and idea protection. It's quite wide. It's an area you need lawyers to, or you need lawyers, you need legal advice. It's quite wide. IP. It's not as easy as we think. Because someone once complained to me that he went to a bank to share a particular business idea with the bank. And he discovered that in few days, no, in few months, the idea was being seen in the public domain. And he was asking me, can you sue them? I said, well, there is a technicality as to that in law. As far as IP law is concerned, it's not as easy as you think. And you see, sometimes when we are you apply for grants online, you apply for tech pitch contest rather, some sponsored, let me say the hosting platforms will put in some sort of exceptions or caveat emptor saying that, see, all these ideas you're submitting, we are not going to be liable. Consequently, there are technicalities to these things. You know, what's the difference between patency and trademark? Do you think you can protect your idea just because you develop a product? Someone once said my idea about having a patency for a tech product. I said, no, you can't have a patency for a tech product. You are not an inventor or a pioneer of that product. There's a way you protect that. You know, there are dynamics, so international intellectual property and data protection. So that's one area. The other area is your area of fundraising. Yes. The area of fundraising is quite important too. Because you know, there are ways fundraising means you want to raise capital either through equity, debentures, bonds, or crowdfunding. This is more personal to me because 2 years ago, I wrote an article, a short article, advising a lot of Nigerians, young Nigerians especially, who are fond of starting investment schemes popularly called crowdfunding. Just starting it on Facebook, moving people to Telegram to invest in their schemes, to do this. In fact, there's a popular equity financing company now that I've told some of my potential clients that this particular equity investment company is not legal, in line with the provisions of SEC regulations. Now, these are the ways you can raise funds legally. If you are starting a company now, you just launch a product and you want an investment for it, you can either raise funds privately. I may love your idea. Okay, I'm investing $2 billion in your idea. Let's have an agreement. Either equity investment or bonds or debentures, it might be loans, it might be equity investment to own your part of your company. That is where you need lawyers now in that agreement, in that contract. I'll go to that aspect of, I'll still address the issue of vesting agreements, shareholders agreement, and all the rest. These are very technical terms. Now, I can invest privately, but it is wrong for a tech startup that is not a public liability company, that is not registered with Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to go to the public and raise capital from the public. It is illegal. It is only you can only raise capital from the public through IPO, initial public offer, and your name, your brand, your company will imply something like PLC. But an LTD, let's say Google LTD, doesn't have the right to go and raise funds from the public. But we see brands doing that and swindling people's money. And people are complaining about that. They've been swindled. There's a company already, it has CAC number, it has this. It is wrong. Now, if you want to raise money from the public through crowdfunding, we have such practices in South Africa, Mauritius, and other African countries adopting that method for tech startups. There are ways to go by it. And that's why you need lawyers too. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, now has a window for that, for digital crowdfunding. And there are requirements for you to raise funds through crowdfunding, digital crowdfunding model. Only lawyer can guide you in that. genuinely. In fact, a popular brand called Bamboo, a digital stock trading platform, just got a license from SEC for, it was given a particular, I can't remember, was given a license to let you know how this government or this administration, let me say this administration, is also being conscious of tech startups too. So there are rules, there are policies, laws that are tech friendly, but you have to involve a lawyer and have to be informed about the processes and policies. You can't just say they're not working, they're not in there. No. If you don't know, you don't know. Now, another aspect is website terms and policy. It's another very interesting area. I've seen cases of website developers, app developers, that will just tell you, they will develop his website, and what you see in that website terms and policy are cloned terms and policies from USA, policies from Europe. I was reviewing terms and policy for a particular company, and it's so interesting that what I saw was so this particular something is subjected to the terms and to the rules foundation of subject to the rules of state of Texas in a platform that is to be used in Nigeria. Very hilarious. A platform that is going to be used in Nigeria, and I'm seeing this law is subject to the rules of Texas. You know, because it was cloned, copied, without understanding what Nigerian law says about that product. For example, we have GDPR guiding global data privacy, mostly being used in Europe. But in Nigeria, we also have our own NDPR. Most people don't know we have our own NDPR, Nigerian data privacy regulation. I've read it, I've perused it before, is country specific, very peculiar to our realities, a bit different from GDPR. But you see someone developing an app and data privacy aspect of the app, you are seeing this something is subject to the rules of GDPR. Why should we be subject to GDPR when we have NDPR in Nigeria? Because they don't know. But the lawyer, a tech-oriented lawyer, handles the terms and policy of your website vis-a-vis understanding the tech product. That won't happen. In fact, you have a well-protected, country-specific, country-peculiar terms and policy. Let me also give you a very unique example. 3 or 4 years ago, there was this agreement between ride-hailing companies like Uber and Bolt, the drivers, and Lagos State government. Now, what caused this agreement was that Lagos State government was telling GoCada, specifically GoCada now, that GoCada, Max.ng and co, that there was an existing rule, there was an existing law, though not enforced, but existing Lagos State law that has outlawed bikes on some routes. And these companies are established in Nigeria without legal diligence. And in their terms and policy on their websites, you will never see such restrictions. Another example was when there was a crisis, this agreement between ride hailers, like especially Bolt in Lagos, and Lagos drivers. And Lagos drivers were saying that if Lagos State government will increase taxes on revenues of, if they will increase taxes on the income of Bolt or these ride-hailing companies, it shouldn't be on the income or in the income of the drivers. Now, Bolt answered, these ride-hailing companies, especially Bolt, answered, replied, the drivers, that we never said you guys are drivers. You're not our employees. It's in our terms and policy. You're not our employees. We are also service providers. So service providers should pay their dues to the government. I also confirmed in their website, in the terms and policy, that it said, it was stated in that policy, that any municipal taxes, that was what they used. They didn't call it state taxes. Any municipal taxes or dues shall be paid by the service provider, that is the drivers. But most of the drivers don't know this. You can see the details, the details hidden in those terms and policy, unique to each country. But the funny thing is that the same policy does not apply in USA. In fact, in USA, ride-hailing policy, what boat, the policy boat will use in Texas is not the policy boat will use in New Orleans, because these states have unique tech policies. So it's just to establish the fact that you need a lawyer in drafting or imputing terms and policy for websites or apps. Now, business partnerships, another aspect. Tech startups, tech entrepreneurs, definitely if you're an entrepreneur, you build partnerships. Partnerships with people in your sector, people outside your sector. You can't secure a reasonable, a beneficial, a mutual beneficiting partnership without a thorough legal advice. I've seen digital influencers fall prey to this. I've seen them fall prey to this problem because you will enter into a partnership with a product manager or with a company without truly knowing their full terms and conditions. You build for these brands as a tech software developer without fully understanding their terms and conditions. You don't even know whether the brand you are dealing with is registered. Who are the real partners? How should the payment be made? Agreement is going back to the contract I mentioned first. How is the agreement like? Is it perpetual? Will it end after a year? Will it be successive, like this, renewable after so years? Or just perpetual, in perpetuity? That's no limits. Your children can even inherit the rewards of that partnership. So you need a lawyer to thoroughly guide you in drafting that agreement or understanding that agreement. Another unique angle, which is relevant for you as a tech developer, and this is very important, is the data privacy management. Data analysis is robustly growing globally, also growing in Nigeria. I remember a particular game app that I advised its founder, and the advice was that, what do you think? What do you think is the relationship of Nigerian law with age, the legal age for online gaming? You know, that was I asked him the question. That what do you think is Nigeria's the status of Nigerian policy and law regarding legal age to play games, online games? In countries, there's some countries that you can't. In China, for example, there's a recent law in Chinese data privacy law that limits, I think, under 14 from playing online games. That's one angle. Another angle is the fact that you have to understand what the NDPR says. about people's data? How do you sell people's data? How do you commercialize it? How do you drive their consent? Okay, how do you drive their consent without them knowing they are giving their consent? What is the reaction of law to that? Or what is the status of law about that? Like you gain people's consent without them knowing that they are giving their consent. Or they know they are giving their consent. Okay, if they are giving their consent, when will that consent expire? NDPR has provisions for that. But most of us don't even know that we have NDPR. Not just GDPR, Global Data Privacy Regulation, which was being used in Europe. China has their own. So we have ours too. We have to protect our data because that's life. In fact, data privacy is so sacrosanct in the health world. If you are investing in what I call health tech, you have to be very careful in that aspect of data privacy. You have to understand what the NDPR says about data privacy, and this can be well digested without involving a lawyer, as is especially tech oriented. Another aspect is compliance and government regulations. I think this one is general. Compliance in the sense that as a tech startup, there are licenses. If you want to expand your business or you want to deepen that corporate structure, there are licenses you actually have to work on. For example, a friend of mine was mentioning that he wants to start a company, payments company. I said, you want to start a payments company? Do you know what the Nigerian laws, fintech laws is about mobile banking? You have to rethink how to hide or introduce another service that is not heavily regulated by the fintech regulations. He said, if you're running any payment service, you are under the fintech regulation of Nigeria. So he was like, I said, that's it. The licenses you have to get from NIDA. The licenses you have to get from NIDA if you want to run some products, except you're not ready to deepen your corporate structure. And if you're not deepening your corporate structure, if anything happens, you'll be treated like an illegal outfit. So beyond CAC, there are licenses you have to get. And lawyers are mostly beneficial in this area because most of the time, they have established connections, understandings of these regulations also. So there are numbers of government agencies that you have to deal with. And beyond these licenses, is what I call government interface. I don't want to use the word lobbying, but you have to interface with the government. During the Twitter crisis, I was a bit unpopular about my opinions when I was telling people that, see, as far as Twitter is concerned, it has no serious or pragmatic lobbying agency in Nigeria. Most of its lobbying tactics and lobbying outfits or lobbying agents are in USA or Europe. So they don't even care. If they had such lobbying agents or agencies in Nigeria, like an interface for them, that issue would have come up. Before the ban, these lobbies will have interfaced with the federal government of Nigeria. That won't have happened in many countries. It can't happen in the US, it can't happen in Europe. So if they truly appreciate our market in Nigeria, they should have an established lobbying or interfacing unit that will handle these government relations, intergovernment relationship. So that two aspects is very important: the compliance and government relations or regulations. Don't say until they see. Sometimes these government agencies, you think they don't have laws. They have laws. It's until they enforce it, you think you don't feel like, they hate us. They hate tech startups. They hate tech. Nigeria is not tech friendly, but there are laws. In fact, there are laws. Look at this Startup Act. Some people were forced. I was initially part of it. I was initially interested in joining the lobby group because I love the way they did it. You must interface with the government because they regulate. And same thing has happened to cryptocurrency. Same thing has happened to cryptocurrency. we have this frenzy now as youth, Nigerian youth, to run a government within the government. And that cannot happen in the business world. The business world must be regulated by the government. And it is left to you to find a good lawyer that will find a way to interface for you with the government, or find a lacuna in the law in winning the government. Another sweet dimension, another sweet aspect you need a lawyer is commercial dispute resolution and mediation. It is very sweet because, you see, even the legal world in Nigeria specifically is drifting towards having less litigations. We have too much of litigations in courts. That's why I said initially, I don't say, you help me, I need a lawyer, I can make troubles now. No, it's not about troubles anymore, because there are too much of cases in courts. So the Nigerian legal system itself is encouraging dispute resolution. And this dispute resolution must be, or should be, included in your contract, in your agreements. That, okay, in case, some people you can say in your agreement that henceforth, if dispute arises, it can only be resolved by the dispute resolution and arbitration panel. I don't want litigation. And you can say, okay, I want the arbitration panel and I want the courts, Nigerian court, to interfere. But my point is that instead of going to the courts, you need a lawyer. We have lawyers trained in this aspect of dispute resolution. What is causing this? We have to make money. So what is causing the fight? The lawyer can help you negotiating and resolving and mediating and say, gentlemen, okay, let's talk. We are trained this way. We're in law school. We got this training on dispute resolution. And people are even specially trained in that aspect also. I think these are don't let me talk too much. Let me open doors for questions. But these are generally the ways, the areas you need assistance of lawyers. Lawyers are not only interested in troubles. It's not about troubles. No, we want prosperity. That is where we all win, we all smile. But we can't enjoy that prosperity smoothly if we don't have sufficient legal structures and corporate structures for our businesses. And I'm more interested in this sector because I know it has future. It has big future in Nigeria. We are yet to see anything. So I'm ready to also be in that future, to live in that future. So to cap it all, we have to deepen that relationship. We have to start a relationship between tech and law, and this is all what I mentioned, are the areas you need legal services. So I really appreciate everybody. I'm open to questions. Thanks so much. My name is Mujib Dada Kodri. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mujib. Thank you so much for that very insightful session. So we'll be taking questions now for Mr. Mujib. If you have a question that maybe something he had said that he had not, you don't really understand or you need more clarity on, you can just drop that in the chat box and or you raise your hands or ask, then we'll just give you the time, we'll give you an opportunity to ask a question. So we'll be leaving this question and answer session for just a couple more minutes, just a minute or two. If you have any question for Mr. Mujib with regards to tech laws for startups and tech talents, please just let us know. And he's still around. He's going to respond to your question. Okay, so just so we do not keep this particular one dragging, we'll just move right on to the main business of the day, which is the Nigerian Startup Act, right? I know there are a lot of people that have been on my case that have, oh, Aiivon, you said you were going to have this session to discuss the Nigerian Startup Act. When is it coming up? So yes, so while we wait for questions from Mr. Mujib, at any point in time that you get a question you want to ask, you can please use the chat box, and we would give you the opportunity to ask your questions, or call up Mr. Mujib to take up the question. But right now, we would be moving to our second speaker for the day. Okay, so just a very quick one. So yes, we have our second speaker. Her name, she's Joanne Titus. A very brief, please, if you can still hear me, just indicate in the chat box. I think my network just did a little one on me now. Please, if you can hear me, just indicate in the chat box that you can hear me so that I can just move on. Okay, great. Ebere said he can hear me. Thank you very much, Ebere. So about Joanne Titus. Joanne Titus is a lawyer, development professional, and policy analyst. She started her legal career as a top-tier law firm in the Federal Capital Territory, where she rose to the position of team lead of the Dispute Resolution Department. Her practice areas span across dispute resolution, regulatory and compliance, technology laws, intellectual property law, and corporate finance. She has advised and represented a myriad of clients in these areas of practice, and has published several works in international and local journals, as well as reputable Nigerian law websites. She's also the co-host and program manager at the Human Rights Cafe, Washington, D.C., a collaborative virtual conversation of the I Read to Live initiative that seeks to equip a new generation of leaders to promote digital advocacy. She's also a corporate consultant for Simply Law, an online legal platform where she has advised and monitored regulatory compliance for companies, especially startups in Nigeria, according to relevant laws and evolving legal trends. She has assisted over 50 startups set up compliance businesses in Nigeria. Joanna enjoys reading, writing, volunteering, and visiting tourist centers. These activities occupy her free time. Hi, everybody. Please make welcome Joanne Titus. Hi, Joanne.
Hello, Faith. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on this call. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that you can share your screen if you have your slides. Right. Thank you so much. Yes.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Aiivon Hub, for having me on today's webinar. Let me quickly share my screen. So if you can hear me, just drop a message on the chat box. Just drop your favorite emoji if you can hear me so that we can start. All right. Okay, I see Sunday, I see Jern, I see Ugochukwu, I see Iberi, I see Joshua. All right, the laughing emoji. All right, welcome everyone. So I'll try to keep the session as quick as I can, because basically, if we see, we're going to be talking about the Nigerian Startup Act 2022. And basically, we're just going to be doing a general outlook. So we might not necessarily go in depth, but then we'll try to touch like surface areas so that everyone will understand. And I'll try to keep it as much as I can simplify it in case of we don't have lawyers that might not understand some terms in the Nigerian Startup Act. So basically, the other day I was having a conversation with my friend that I'll be talking about the Nigerian Startup Act, and she actually even brought to my attention that she had not really had the time to go through the Nigerian Startup Act regulatory and hello, sorry. I think I had a little network glitch. Sorry. So we'll continue from where we stopped. Okay, so as I was discussing, basically, while the Nigerian Startup Act was brought about, so there has been this rise of technology innovations and the rest for startups, especially in Nigeria. And as I mentioned earlier, that Nigeria currently serves like the technology hub of Africa. So in as much as before the whole Nigeria Startup Act was actually assented to by the president, there were kind of reforms, there were policies, but we didn't really have that regulatory framework that we knew, okay, this is basically what is guiding technology startup in Nigeria. So basically the Nigerian Startup Act is actually a very commendable innovation that has been brought by the President Buhari's regime. So as we all knew, it was on the 19th of October last year, that was when the Nigerian Startup Act was actually signed into law. It's actually a very significant legislation because it's one that has it's going to set up, like, it provides a whole lot of incentives for tech startup, because sometimes when we look at startups, most of the issues and the problem they have most times is in terms of funding. People have ideas, but they do not have the funds to like push their ideas. But I think one notable incentive that this Nigerian Startup Act is actually brought about is in terms of funding, which we'll tend to discuss in other slides. And then, so basically, when we talk about startup, and using the literary meaning and just simple terms, startup refers to young companies that are basically rooted in innovation. So they are established to provide unique products and services that remedy deficiency in existing businesses or create a new set of products and services which disrupt the normal existing mode of the business. So basically, when we talk about startup, the first word that comes to our mind is innovation. So basically, these are companies that are trying to do things, maybe things that are already existing, but they're trying to do things in a new way. Or maybe they're thinking outside the box and coming up with things that we have not even thought about. So that's basically when we say startup, that's what we are referring to. But however, the Nigerian Startup Act is actually defined what a startup is. And according to the Nigerian Startup Act, a startup is a company which has been in existence for a maximum of 10 years, with its objectives being the creation, innovation, production, development, or adoption of a unique digital technology, innovative product, service, or process. So basically, if the benchmark for startup under the Nigeria Startup Act is less than 10 years. So once your company is below 10 years, you can actually qualify as a startup, though that's not all the requirements that are necessary, but it's actually a starting point. So basically, so now as I mentioned earlier, the Nigerian Startup Act provided for a lot of every company. So they brought about what they called a labeled startup. Then you are not entitled to the incentives provided in the Nigeria Startup Act. It must first of all be registered as a limited liability company under the CAMA and has been registered. Once your company is above 10 years, you cannot qualify as a labeled startup under the Nigerian Startup Act. And another important provision is that your objects must include innovation, development, production, improvement, and commercialization of a digital technology, innovative product or process. So in simple terms, what we're saying is that the object must be innovative. We're looking at something that is related to technology. It's something that has to do with producing or improving digital technology. So those should be the objects of your company. That's why most times a lot of fintech industries usually fintech companies are usually the ones that benefit from this startup, because most times it has to involve the use of technology and finance and everything. So basically the object of the company has to be innovative. And then another condition is that you must have developed or you own digital product, process, or you have registered a digital product. Then the last requirement for you to become a labeled startup is that a Nigerian founder or maybe a Nigerian co-founder has at least 33% of the shareholdings. So basically what they're trying to say is that a company that is fully owned by a foreigner cannot be labeled as a startup in Nigeria that is going to be entitled to the incentives provided under the Nigerian Startup Act. So basically, for you to now be able to qualify as a labeled startup, at least one of the founders or co-founders should own at least 33% of the shareholding or 1/3 of the local shareholding. So that's basically it on labeling startup. But then I would like to mention on this issue of labeling startup, we have sole proprietorships, which are businesses that are owned by one person, and we also have partnerships that are owned by at least 2 or more persons. So most times these sole proprietorship and partners are not usually, they're not companies that are registered under the CAMA, but it doesn't mean they can't still be entitled to the provision under the Startup Act. So basically, from the provision of the Startup Act, they give room for what they call the pre-label status, in the sense that a sole proprietorship or a partnership can go ahead to register as a pre-label startup, and then they now have a period of 6 months to comply with this requirement. So that means within 6 months, you're expecting them to either become and register as a limited liability company under the CAMA, and then maybe they now go ahead to fulfill their objects being innovation and the rest. So basically, it therefore doesn't necessarily exclude sole proprietorship and partnerships from actually having access to the incentives that feel other requirements that are necessary. So I think we will now look at the impacts of the Act on tech startups. So basically, I think this is where our focus is going to be, because this is now talking as, in spite of every that the Nigerian Startup Act has brought about, talking about the regulatory bodies. I know there's a provision for the National Council for Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship. There's the Secretariat, which is the NITDA, that's the National Information Technology Development Agency. They're actually this secretariat that's going to go about implementing the provisions of the Nigerian Startup Act. We also have Startup Support and Engagement Portal. We also have the Startup Consultative Forum. So basically, these are the regulatory frameworks and the rest that the Nigerian Startup Act actually established. But however, I would want us to actually highlight the impacts of this act on tech startup, because this is basically where it gets to affect. This is basically what you get to know that, okay, yeah, I'm a startup, but then this is what I have access to because of the Nigerian Startup Act. So first of all, we'll be talking about access to finance. So one beautiful thing that the Nigerian Startup Act brought about was it created a closer access to finance. First of all, if you look at the Nigerian Startup Act, there's actually a provision for startup investment seed fund. So basically, I think the idea according to the Nigerian Startup Act, according to the Act, what it provided is that most startups actually will have access to certain kinds of funds, which is what they call the investment seed fund, which is basically, they said the government and the body in charge they will make sure that they put up to 10 billion naira every year into that fund so that tech startups can have access to it. So basically, as a tech startup, so you should know that somewhere there's an investment seed fund that is going to be funded with at least 10 billion naira every year, so which you can apply for. But then there's actually the problem with the Nigerian Startup Act now is just that they didn't really state where are those sources of funding coming from. So it's still a bit hazy on that area of, okay, so where is the money coming from? Is it from tax? Is it from, or are we going to go to the revenue fund and everything? But they didn't really state where the source of this money is coming from. But then I believe that's something that by the time they make regulations, because that's one beautiful thing about Act, is that the bodies will have power to make regulations that follow up to the Act. So I believe with time we'll get specific directions on how this can be implemented in Nigeria. But at least we know that definitely there's actually a startup fund somewhere that startups can actually apply to have access to. So then I think there's another provision, it's still speaking on finance, is they said the Central Bank of Nigeria and also the banking industries will also provide loans to tech startups. So basically, I'm sure that the Central Bank of Nigeria and maybe every other body and board that are part of the banking industry will also come up with programs and projects that will help to provide funding for startups. Then they even still related to fund, the SEC has also decided that it will help to facilitate organizations that want to introduce crowdfunding. So it will help them get licensed so that startups can have access to fund easier. So basically, if you look at the Nigerian Startup Act, there's also what they call this provision for credit scheme. So there are a lot of opportunities for finance, for you to have access to finance as a startup because of the Nigerian Startup Act. So quickly, let's also look at the fiscal incentives that has been provided under the Nigerian Startup Act. So under this fiscal incentive, it's just like basically as a labeled startup in Nigeria, I am entitled to apply for certain fiscal incentives. And one notable one I can remember now is the piano status incentives. So before now, there was there were some set regulations that most times before you have reached a certain number of years in business, your business is related to certain lines before you can have access to the pioneer status. But then because of this act now, startups can have access to this fiscal incentive, which is the pioneer status, because of their labeled startup. So basically what the pioneer status is that if you're a tech startup that maybe is into manufacturing production, there's some definite department that the pioneer status are actually provided for. So if you are a tech startup that actually operates on this line, you can actually apply for a pioneer status. So what the pioneer status is about is that you have access to like 3 years tax holiday. So basically you can stay 3 years and you don't get to pay income tax. And then you can also apply for an additional 2 years to that income tax. So it's actually a very good innovation. Then I know the Nigerian Startup Act also, I think they also provide for exports, this thing in terms of export, startups that are into exporting and all. There are incentives that are also provided for by the act. So basically, if you're a startup and you are into exporting and all, you can apply for certain tax holiday and all, and it's also, you can have as much as you want. I know there's the 5% withholding tax, in the sense that you have like, it helps you to reduce the amount of tax that you're going to pay ordinarily on withholding tax. So it gives you that 5% withholding tax, mostly for non-residents, investors and all. And another beautiful thing about still under this fiscal incentive is that the act also provides incentives for investors. So in as much as, yeah, the tech startups are actually getting a lot of finance, getting a lot of funding, they're getting a lot of incentives, the investors, people that want to invest in your business, also have like incentives in the act. So it now shows that it actually gives room for companies, foreign companies and investors that want to invest in your business. They'll be happy to invest because they know that there is actually something in for them. So that's the beautiful part about it. I think the act actually talked about some certain form of reduction in terms of payment of capital gain tax. So these are actually nice fiscal incentives that the act has brought about. So it's definitely going to promote investment opportunities in Nigeria, and it's actually very, very commendable. Then let's also look at on the issue of collaboration. So I think before now, when we were under the command, or we had the one-stop investment center that allowed, new companies, when they were starting, they can easily have access to the various regulatory bodies, just like it was rightly mentioned by the first speaker when he talked about, as a startup, you have to register your company. There are certain licenses you have to get depending on the particular field you are. If you want to do technology transfer, you're looking that you have to register with NOTAB. Then there's also the NIPC. There are other bodies that are necessary. We're looking at the SEC, we're looking at CBN, that's if you're going to corporate finance and all. So basically, we know that all these bodies are there. So before you even start your company, you have to make sure that you are regulatory compliant. So the beautiful part about the act is that due to this, when talking about collaboration, it allows that once you're able to register on the startup portal and all, you have access to, you register your company with the CAC. From there, they direct you to the next regulatory body to register. So it makes it easier for startup now to get all their licenses and every form of certificate they need to operate in Nigeria. So it's actually a very commendable one, because if all the it now helps to reduce all those bottlenecks when we have regulatory agencies and all. So one very, very commendable part of the act is on this issue of collaboration. And then let's quickly move to the last, which is the cluster hubs, innovation parks, accelerators, and incubators. So basically, just like I'm sure most of us are aware, when we talk about Silicon Valley, like in the US, when we're talking about the technological hub of a particular place. So this act has now said that it wants to promote projects, it wants to promote programs, webinars and all that will help to inform tech startups in terms of their business and doing business. So it's actually very, very a very notable one, because I think of recent, as at last year, Lagos State Governor actually even organized one innovation hub or something in Lagos, and where people came together to talk about ways or how can we implement the Startup Act. That's the whole essence of one of the essence of the act, in the sense that they want people to come together. They want accelerators and incubators to come together. They should organize projects. Maybe today they can do project fund companies below 5 years in tech that are doing into innovation and tech. So basically, once they come together, that project will now help to now push people, that they will come together, they will fund them, they will provide finance and all. So that's one of the beautiful part of the tech startup, because with these innovation parks, accelerators, and incubators, it now helps to form like a technological hub in most. You can even create them in states, you can create in the country, where people can come together and discuss most of their tech startups. So it is also a great avenue to provide funding for tech startups. It's also a great avenue to provide for them to know what incentives are available to them. And I believe it even makes it easier for these tech startups. So maybe most times when all these fiscal incentives are provided for, or maybe when there's a new funding or there's a new investor that wants to come and invest in a business, it will provide the means for even these tech startups to pitch their business ideas to investors. So basically, I feel like these are the 4 notable areas of impact on tech startups. So when we talk about finance, talk about incentives, collaboration, and innovation pack. So the Startup Act is actually, it's very, 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 very commendable, and it's something that's going to promote startups in Nigeria, and it's also going to give room for investment in Nigeria. But generally, in as much as we know that, of course, the act is actually a welcome development. As of now, presently, people are still trying to figure out, okay, when exactly are they going to kickstart? When are they going to make basically there's no timeline that has been provided in the Tech Startup Act for when the National Council will be formed, or when would they start operating the portal and all. But we believe with time, all this there will be clarity on it. So I believe it's from this presentation, we're able to at least understand certain provision that has been provided for us in the Startup Act. And on that note, I'd like to conclude here. So basically, we know startups in Nigeria are impacted by a lot of macro and microeconomic factors. Key among them is access to finance. It is said that a lot of startups globally and indeed in Nigeria fail because of the unavailability or inadequacy of finance. Other factors impacting the growth of startups in Nigeria could be access to resources, incubators, and the rest. But however, the Act has tried to cushion the impact of these economic factors by focusing on strategic areas such as access to finance, fiscal incentives, collaboration, and cluster hubs and innovation parks, accelerators, and incubators. So from this presentation, we can all see that basically the Nigerian Startup Act is actually a welcome development that has come to improve our technology, the economy of Nigeria, because it's not only just going to invite investors to come, but there will be more startups that will definitely be registered because of these incentives that have been provided. So now I believe that most limitations that most startups had before now will actually be removed, because they now know that they have access to finance, they have access to investors. They also have some certain incentives when it comes to tax payment, and they also know that they have like a hub and a place where they can always come together to share ideas, pull their ideas together, and definitely develop our economy for the best. So I believe we were able to take one or two things out from this presentation, and I think that will bring us to the end of the presentation. So if there is any question, I'm available to answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Joanne. Thank you for this insightful session. I really, really appreciate it. It was really descriptive. For anyone that feels like there is something they don't get, you probably were not listening properly, or you had, maybe the network had played a very quick one on you. If there are questions, please use the chat box. We are here. Mrs. Joanne is still here, and she's still going to be taking questions with respect to the information she just shared. Okay, so I have a message from John. Awesome. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you so much, Joanne, for sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. So we'll just wait for another couple of minutes. I know we had said we're going to round this up by before 4 p.m. So please, if there are any questions, even for the previous speaker, yeah, you have a question, you need clarity, on it, just send it to us, or you can raise your hands up and we would give you the floor to respond to question. I see some of us had attended the session quite late. If there's anything you missed, I know that we have a speaker or two. Okay, so I have Gode. Gode has a question. Please, yes, I've seen your hands. Please go ahead and unmute yourself, and so you can speak.
All right, thank you so much. I really want to appreciate the effort of Mujib Dada and that of Joanne for really explaining in details. You understand? And I have a couple of questions. Before now, I've been making some research on how to really get legal advisors on tech startup companies in Nigeria. You understand? Because basically, since last quarter of last year, entering this first quarter, which we are right now in this year, my team and I, we've been working on a crypto project, you understand? And, you know, we really want to make everything right. And I told my team that we really need time to start working on the background, and so that by the time we are coming live, we will not be having any lapses or any issues affecting us, you understand? And we'll look at the Nigerian space when it comes to crypto projects. And I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
we can hear
All
you.
right,
Please
all
go
right.
ahead.
We look at the Nigerian space when it comes to crypto startups and the regulations and all of that, and we discover that a lot of crypto projects that originated from the country, they are not really doing well. You understand? So we thought it good that we want to be registering our company in the United Kingdom. As we stand, we already had 3 legal advisors from the UK, which we're already working with. But when it comes to the target audience, Nigeria is one of the market that is really favorable to crypto projects, because in the world right now, Nigeria is about top 3 when it comes to crypto adopters. And in Africa, I believe Nigeria is top 1, you understand? So, and we thought it good that we're still going to be operating here in Nigeria. So that is why we started making research on how we can be able to get some legal advisors that will be able to direct us on things to do, understand the restriction and all of that. So I listened to the presentation of Mujib Dada and also that of Juan very well. I took some notes on what they were explaining. Then as it stands now, because right now we are in the very beginning of our development, on our roadmap by second quarter, which is beginning by April, that's when we're going to be starting marketing campaigns, airdrops, and all of that. We have a lot of service that will be dishing out to the market. Like, we're going to be having our own centralized exchange that's going to be functioning like the normal Binance, KuCoin, MEXC, and the rest of them, where we'll be having the margin trading, spot trading, future trading, staking, P2P, and some other stuff. And we have a lot of features that has not even been seen in some of those centralized exchanges that we want to be bringing to the market. And one of our target audience is the Nigerian crypto investors, you understand? And also, we're still going to be having a decentralized exchange, which is going to be functioning like the normal Trust Wallet and MetaMask, you understand? We're also going to be having our own DeFi token, which can be tradable like other tokens like Binance, Bitcoin, BNB, and the rest of them. So we have a lot of features that we'll be bringing to the market. That is why we say, okay, we really need to start getting to know about our Nigerian space and the licenses that we need to get and all of that. So as it stands right now, as a crypto project already, though we'll be registering our company in the UK, we'll be having an office space there over there in the UK, but we really want to stay based on the Nigerian space so that we can have a good legal backings and all of that. So as it stands right now, what are the things that we really need to, if we say, okay, we want to start right now, what are the things that we need to focus on to start doing now? And if we want to employ your service, like to come into the project like a legal advisor, like what is the cost, what is it going to cost us and all that? And if we want to maybe do a kind of a background check on you, do you have like a website where we can see your previous work and some things you've done before in the past? That's my questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Godi, for that question. So, Mr. Mujid, I don't know, Mr. Mujid, are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm still available.
Okay, please, would you like to give response to his question? There is another question in the chat box, but let's take this question from Godi first.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mr. Godi. You asked a very brilliant question, brilliant and practical. Yeah. First, it should be known that first I have to appreciate the fact that you are now exposed to the need for Nigeria-specific, Nigeria-peculiar legal service, because the UK regulation, no matter how similar it might be, it's quite different from our regulations. the data privacy, the fintech, and all. It might amuse you that Nigerian law does not support cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Legally, it is not right. What Nigeria identifies is the blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And what I assume from the policy existence now regarding blockchain is that, okay, Nigeria wants to protect blockchain and use that opportunity to foresee the global acceptance of crypto.
Yeah.
Because as we speak, it's still glooming the market. There are top investors in America that will tell you crypto is the pyramid scheme. China is saying no to it. China's fintech industry has outlawed it. So some European countries are saying no to it. We know the latest thing that happened to this Bankman Fried's current controversies.
Yeah, FTX.
FTX, you can see that the founder of Binance is not calling for regulation.
Yeah.
It bows down to what I said initially, that there's need for government interface and regulation. Let me say government interface and engagement. The crypto world, the tech world should not isolate itself. It can't happen. It's a business. They will need the government. So my answer is this. As far as Nigeria is concerned, there is no regulation for it, but there's regulation for blockchain. Okay. But if you want to work around it, if you want to play around it, I think there should be a private discussion about that. Okay, I think that's more private. It will be shared. And are you okay? Are you comfortable with that question, sir? With that answer, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there's a question again by Mr. Babatunde Raji. What's your view about use of artificial intelligence and tools to generate legal terms? Mr. Babatunde, thanks for this question too. You see, law is, I like this question too. It's quite practical because we had the latest update about this chat, GPT and all. It's very interesting, but I don't want to, I'm trying to avoid that discussion, but this is purely artificial intelligence. But see, law is very organic and dynamic. Law is organic. It's part of the things we did in jurisprudence and Nigerian legal system or we're in school. Law is organic in the sense that it is not something, it's something that must have human contact. It's something that must have human interpretation and human interference. You need it because there are dynamism to interpretations and applications. And the machine, no matter how you train the machine, the tools of machine learning, artificial intelligence, it cannot predict that dynamism perfectly. It is not possible. It's not possible. It's what you feed the machine that the machine will give you. So what happens when the machine does not have what should be fed? So the simple answer to this question, sir, is that artificial intelligence will aid the flexibility, but artificial intelligence will not hijack the legal service or cannot perfectly generate legal terms, but can assist. So you still need the human angle, the legal advice to say, okay, for example, if you want to generate legal terms now, that is Nigeria specific, there are some exceptions to these laws. There are exceptions that you want to play around to favor your product. Artificial intelligence cannot find that for you. So that's what I was saying, Mr. Babatunde. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Dada, for that answer. And I think I particularly like what you said about AI is not being able to completely take over the job of a physical legal practitioner or opinion, right? Anyway, we're not going to have all of the arguments that comes with artificial intelligence now. There are actually some people that are really passionate about it that would say that, oh, very, very soon, there is no need for all of your human thinking and initiatives, AI would immediately, but that is not the session for it. We'll definitely organize something for it. So thank you so much for that response. There is someone that has raised up his hands. Please, let me try to see who. Okay, so Mr. Abdul, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question quickly. So we have just 2 minutes more for questions. So Mr. Yes, sir. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. I said you can go ahead and speak.
Okay, that's fine. My question goes to Mr. Mujib. As a startup founder, I actually want to know how we could actually manage ourselves, since we don't have the funding now, to actually maybe collaborate or partner with lawyers, so to say, to actually help us in the collaboration with agencies to get the necessary licenses to operate. So that would be my question.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Mujib. Are you okay? Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thanks for your question. You are inquiring about can lawyers as to breaks up.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Okay, I want to get you asking is a way can partner with lawyer of compliance and license for your tech.
Hello, Mr. Mujib. I don't know if it's just on my end, but I can barely hear you.
Can you Mr. now?
No, I can't hear you either.
Help me now.
So I think you're having little network glitch because
Is it clear now?
Yeah, yes, it's better now. It's better now.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moise, let me rephrase your question. You want to know, can the service of respect compliance and licensing? How you answer? Mr. Moise, is that your question?
Okay. So if that is going to be a challenge, we don't know if you can also make use of the chat box and just drop a response or two. Mr. Mujib, you can just use the chat box and just drop a response. And as soon as your network is back, I think we would just move forward, because we can hear you, but the network is not very, very stable. And also, hello, Mr. Mujib, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so Mr. Gode had asked for you to drop your contact in his DM. You can just go ahead and do that. But like I had said, just to add to what Mr. Mujib has said, if as a startup you are in need of any kind of support, legal support. Like we said, at Aiivon Innovation Hub, we provide some of these services also to our community members. You can send a message to an email rather to hello@aivon.com, and we would schedule a meeting for you. We would also get across to Mr. Mujid or any of the speaker or any of our in-house lawyers, and then help with your legal needs. Okay. Yes, we're going to message from people. We're going to drop the email here, and then Mr. Mujid would also drop his email or his contact as well. Okay, so moving on. So we have representatives from NIDA here with us, and there is it's not really going to be so much for us to have the discussion on the Startup Act, Nigerian Startup Act, and not have the Secretariat drop a response or two about it. So I will just give the floor to Bashira. So sorry if I did not pronounce that. Bashira Hassan, to just drop a word or two about the Startup Act and how and the role of NIDA. I'd heard a couple of our two speakers, not just one person. Our two speakers have spoken about NIDA being playing a major role in implementing the Startup Act. So I'm just going to give Bashira Hassan a minute. I'm just going to give a minute to Bashira to kindly just share with us, the role of NIDA in the implementation of the Startup Act. Hi, Bashira, can you hear me?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. So please, we would just like to hear from you. Thank you again. I don't think I said that. Thank you for joining us on this call. Kindly share with us the role of NIDA in the implementation of the Nigerian Startup Act.
Okay, thank you very much. And good afternoon to everyone. I think that Joanne Titus did a fantastic job in breaking down the Nigerian Startup Act and its objectives and what it seeks to achieve. So I know she also spoke about the functions of Secretariat which NIDA will be handling. So I'll just dive right into it and talk a bit more about this, right? Ultimately, as a Secretariat to the Council, right, NIDA is responsible. The Secretariat will be headed by Director General of NIDA, and NIDA will be responsible for managing the process of labeling the startups, also maintain a platform to provide access to information in relation to the startup ecosystem. That is to say that once this these startups have been labeled, they will be given access to a platform where they would have access to different information. So all of this information that I hear some of the participants asking, I think that when you have a larger community, some of your challenges, inquiries, you'd be able to learn from the past experiences of some of your peers. We're also required to enter into partnerships with both local and international business incubators, accelerators, digital innovation hubs to promote the startup in Nigeria. We're required to maintain a directory of startup incubators and accelerators. We're already doing that. We believe that we would also continue on this trajectory. We're also required to support research development activities related to digital technology innovation and its commercialization, and also advise the council on issues affecting startup and digital technology innovation, entrepreneurship in Nigeria, and matters connected to the implementation of the act. So basically, the Secretariat is also to ensure that the National Digital Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Startup Policy is a policy that has been existing for some time now, or that it was issued by its secretariat, which is NIDA, is implemented for the development of the startup ecosystem. So it's just ultimately all of these things I have reeled out. It's just basically to be able to create an enabling environment for the startups. I also heard Joanne mention that the act was silent about where we'll be getting funds from, right? And she made mention of tax. And I just want to address that quickly, because although the act is silent on that, it's also important to note that there will be a fund manager that will be responsible for identifying funding opportunities available. So it's good for us not to, I'm recommending that we don't think about it from the area of taxation. Rather, there are funding opportunities available in different areas, in both locally and internationally. The African Development Bank has funding available, and believe that these are areas that in good time the fund manager would be able to identify this, and we can tap into it. There are grants available, and we can see this being replicated in other countries that have also enacted their Startup Act. So the ecosystem, I mean, it's not just Nigeria, it's very large, and we're also learning from what other countries are doing in terms of implementation. So we're learning from some of their success stories, and the point is not to impose additional hardship on Nigerians, rather to see how best we will be able to take advantage of some of the opportunities out there. I hope I've been able to shed some light on your question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bashira, for that. Thank you. I really appreciate. I still remember sometime last year, I think December, before the end, during the whole holiday period, NIDA had organized a info session for tech startups within Abuja to discuss implementation of this act. And I think it was a very, very great initiative, reaching out to like the key players in the ecosystem, not just sitting out, oh, we are the secretariat, we already know how to get this done, we're going to reach out to the startups. And I really loved that session. It was really, really good, and we're still expecting more. And as soon as things are more in place, I'm very, very sure everybody, or startups, Nigerian startups, let's just leave it at that, would everybody would be on the know. So thank you very much. My question, yes, you had answered it, and thank you very much. Is there any other person? Do we have any other participants who has a question with regards to the Startup Act? You have any part of the act that you really do not understand? I was very, very particular about the funding aspects and how we're going to get the fundings for the startups. And yes, Bashira already did justice to that. She already responded. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. All right. I'm still waiting for, okay, if there are no more questions, for this session, I would just want to say a very big thank you. Thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Mr. Mujib, for being a part of this webinar, for sharing your knowledge with us. I really, really do appreciate you, Aiivon, as a whole. We appreciate you, and we do not take what you've done for granted. And even to our participants, to our community members, both virtual community members and physical community members, thank you all so much for being part of this session. It's one thing for people to complain about knowing knowing about something, and then it's a different thing for you to be deliberate about it. So like I said, when we had started, a couple of people reached out to me after the poll that we had done on social media about knowledge on the Startup Act. Oh yes, when are we going to have the info session? When are we going to talk about it? And yes, we have. Thank you for being a part of this session. Really appreciate you. So in case you want to contact us at Aiivon Innovation Hub, we have our information here. You can reach us via email at hello@aivon.com, or reach us via our website at aivon.com. We are in Abuja at the Tokumbo 167 at the Tokumbo Ademola Crescent, Wuse 2, Abuja, and we are also located in Benue State, in Makurdi, Benue State, opposite the Agric Science University. Opposite the university. Yes, you can reach us there. Also, okay, I think we'll just be rounding it up at this point. Thank you all so much for being part of the session. Okay, I have someone's hands raised. Mr. Mujib. No, sorry, not Mr. Mujib now, Mr. Abdul. Please unmute yourself and then
Yes, like I actually asked Mr. Mujib questions the other time, but I had issue with my network, so I don't know if you could actually just brief me on the answer.
Okay, please. What was your question, please?
For startup funders trying to get regulations and try to get their policies into place. How best can they actually partner with lawyers or collaborate with them to actually get these things in place, since they don't really have much money to for human resource or to pay their staffs?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. I think he had responded to that question, and we also said if you have need for legal guidance, you are a startup within this ecosystem and you have need for legal guidance, you can reach out here. I dropped his email address. Mr. Mujib, I don't know if you would want to do that again. You can reach out to him. And I also said as an support organization for startups, we also provide legal support to startups. You can also send us an email via hello@aivon.com and we would respond to you. We have our legal team that would be most excited to help you out in any way. Mr. Mujid, I don't know if you've dropped your email address. Please go ahead and drop it. And yes, we're going to be sharing the details, the contact details of our speakers. So in case you have need for any of their services, you would just be able to reach out to them. Yep. All right. Abdul, I hope we're able to answer that question satisfactorily.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so please send an email to hello@aivon.com. And Mr. Mujib, you may want to drop your email address again. Okay, so this is us saying thank you. I'm so excited that we tried as much as possible not to exceed the time for this meeting. So thank you all so much for being a part of this session. I really appreciate you. So just another announcement. So as an organization, we'll be holding a tech job, emphasis on tech job fair next month. And we would really appreciate each and every one of us to be a part of it. So we are not just an organization that trains people to get tech skilled. We also provide opportunities for tech talents to find remote jobs from reputable organizations. We're not charging you any fee directly. The job fair is free and open to all tech and tech talent, techpreneurs, startups, you're in need of a tech talent, please plan to attend. It's a physical event. We would also be sending you the link to register for the program as well. So thank you all again. Thank you so much. We hope to see you in our space very, very soon. All right, everyone, do have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of. Please also, can everyone hear me, please? Please, if you can hear me, just state it in the chat box. I think I have missed a very important announcement from NITDA. I hope Ashira is still on the call to respond to that. Or if she's not, we'll just send it to everyone via email. Okay, I think she dropped off the call already. So we'll be dropping that information from NITDA to everybody via email. All right, guys, thank you all so much for being a part of this meeting. You'll enjoy your day and make sure to come out to vote as well during the general elections on Saturday. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.